I was with my best friends in the world, and I felt that I could live forever with those guys.
I found myself really drawn to these young men and what they went through.
It's very good to know that you're doing honor to the guys who actually lived this.
And background action, and D cameras, forward.
Marines, keel on 3. 1, 2, 3, kill!
Generation Kill is the story of several weeks before the invasion and then 5 weeks into Baghdad for one company of recon Marines.
Yes, we are the conquering heroes.
I'm one of the few reporters who was in harm's way with the unit and covered them continuously from start to finish.
Somehow or other, Evan ended up in the first Humvee at the tip of the Marine Corps Spear.
You're gonna tell all them people that read Rolling Stone how it feels to be in a war?
The book is based on me going into combat with them.
Right, this is you see it. I'm not here to stop you.
It doesn't reflect a glossy heroism when he writes about them. It is more honest about their mistakes, it's honest about their foibles, it's honest about the war, but it's very committed to capturing them.
Our first contact with armed Iraqis, and we wave at them.
You think you're getting a war movie. You get something that's quite confusing at times because it makes you laugh. It makes you feel tremendous sadness for what's gone on. Above all, it makes you understand the complexity of what went on.
The 2 Iraqi divisions on the other side of the breach. We're going to demonstrate to the Iraqis that we've not come to harm innocent people or threaten their way of life. But if you bump into an Iraqi who wants to fight, you will kick his ass.
First Recon, they're probably the baddest fighters on the planet. These are the hardest core dudes, the most effective operators in the Marines.
Part of the nature of Recon Marines that they're selected and trained because they are individuals. They're expected to make individual decisions and take responsibility for what they do.
We have Marines on site all the time. Some of them are now acting. Rudy plays himself.
I served in Iraq and Afghanistan and in Fallujah. For my 3rd tour overseas.
He has a kind of earnestness and love of the process of improving himself and everyone around him.
I put on my superhero uniform every day I'm in the Corps, brother. Hoorah!
Eric Cucker started out as military advisor, then became cast as a character. Barrett. Jeff Carrizales has now been cast.
Eric and Rudy ran boot camp. The actors were stunned when they ran into these 2 guys. 3rd guy is Jeff Carrizales. Jeff spent 20 hours a day along with Eric making those Humvees work. These 3 guys are like brothers to each other. And the stories they tell, the humor they have, is the humor that Evan was able to capture and hopefully that we've captured in this journey.
I think Sheree and I are going to move to San Francisco. There's no fat people there.
Jesus Christ, Rudy. When are you gonna realize that you're gay?
Gay?
When we're on Libo, you wear Banana Republic Daisy Duke shorts. Now you're rolling in a battle in your goddamn chicken suit and J-Lo glasses.
I wear clothes that are body conscious. For like the first 5 or 10 minutes when I found out what kind of crazy mission we were going on, my life flashed before my eyes, but it was what I wanted, you know?
These were the guys sort of at the point of the spear going into Baghdad. For 5 weeks they were in thin-skinned Humvees.
You're in a Humvee and it's a very tight space. And there's that closeness.
It's a road trip movie, basically, right? It's like a bunch of guys hitting the road, stopping for food, stopping to sleep. Instead of fixing flats, there's ambushes.
Here we go, boys!
By the time they get to Baghdad, I think they were quite surprised at the turn the invasion had taken and the lack of a plan.
Don't these guys know that we won the war already?
In boot camp, man, Rudy and Cucker, they put us through it, and I really wish it was longer because it was a really good endurance program for all of us, and we learned about the weapons, the Humvee driving. We had a lot of tactical courses to do.
In 1 week, you could see them becoming something that even Eric was impressed by, how quickly they came to the roles. And of course, Rudy Reyes, he did the physical exercise with these guys. When these guys were humping, some of them were really hurt, and they gutted it out.
I was wondering what the hell I got myself into. I was like, 6 months of this? But then, like, later on in the day, I was like, man, 6 months of this is awesome.
They bonded. You could feel that unity and that respect for each other.
All of a sudden we had 30 guys here who didn't, who none of us knew each other. We all started on the same playing field, and I think it was really neat to get to know each other, not only as actors, but in character a little bit.
But it was really tough, waking up at 4 o'clock, eating breakfast, then running miles, and, just having pull-up drills and tactical training missions. It was fun. I loved it.
This is the kind of stuff that we dream about when we're kids and we play with, trucks and everything. All of a sudden it's on we're in a life-size Humvee.
Buckle up, this is gonna get crazy.
Each of our main actors, is representing a real person who's alive, who there's a lot of photographic reference, what they wore, sort of the props that they use. So we're trying to be as accurate as we possibly can.
Evan basically fell in love with these guys when he got into the Humvee with them. I think he was amazed at how fascinating they were as individuals.
Daddy's back.
Bravo 2 was a family. All they had was each other.
When you have the grumpy, stern father, which would be me, and then the sensitive mother, and then the kids in the backseat fighting.
Hey, Sergeant, are we there yet?
We've been sitting here for 4 goddamn hours.
My Colbert, the Colbert I created, he's a warrior, and he sees himself as the warrior coming in with a sword to liberate people and to help people. Come on, it'll be good for you.
There you go.
See? Don't you feel better?
I want to serve the real Ray person more than I want to serve anybody else.
You know what happens when you get out of the Marine Corps? Get your brains back.
Trombley's tricky in a lot of ways. There are a lot of different things going on in the same character. There's a kind of sweetness and menace to him at the same time.
Hey, you know what sucks? All those dead bodies we seen today, I didn't get to shoot any of them.
It's actually amazing that you can get this many guys and everyone just be cool and everyone just be accepting of how everyone is.
The technical challenges of shooting in Africa, of doing a piece of work with a lot of action, special effects, it's huge in every single way.
We try to get the smallest detail right. Now, sometimes we screw up, but the whole intent is to make every little detail picture perfect, so that when the Marines watch this, especially the recon Marines watch this, they'll say, yeah, I gotta give it to them. Yeah, they got it.
All these other grunts look at the recon like we are cold-blooded warriors. We're carnivorous, dog, and you gotta carry it like that.
On a show like this, you don't have those little quiet scenes of 2 people in a dining room. Everything is, 25 or 30 actors driving Humvees, shooting. So every single setup is major.
There's about 500 extras here today, I think, and obviously they all have to be given Iraqi props, and the costume people have to give them all the costumes.
It's very difficult from our point of view because you never know what's going to arrive. You might have 419 people, but you've got to have 680 costumes in case. You've got no idea what's arriving on the day.
I'm ready to act.
When we're at Camp Matilda, and Arts Department managed to have several very large tents, which is the beginning of the camp. And when we go for extra wide shots, we have to digitally create the rest of it. So we're doing matte paintings and CG to extend the camp beyond what we had there.
I mean, we work very closely with special effects. Al Nasiriyah, it's a lot of pyrotechnics, a lot of explosions, bullet hits. So we work very carefully, closely with them to understand how dangerous and how close we can be to pyrotechnics and the explosions. The closer the better for us.
I spent a lot of time in Sergeant Colbert's Humvee that the story is really centered around.
These vehicles are mocked up so that they best represent the kind of vehicles and equipment we used for the initial invasion in Iraq.
The main Humvees, 15 of them, were imported from the States.
A lot of them weren't running when we first got them. Fix those problems, change some engines, some transmissions, things like that.
They rigged the Humvees up, and they kept them running, and they got their mission accomplished.
We used our camouflage knowledge and some of the techniques, TTPs, tactical training procedures, that we used in Afghanistan we brought out here. For instance, such as this cami netting.
These cami nets are just so easy to bring down. Untie them, pull them down,
stake them off, and all of a sudden, when you're totally camming down, you break the lines of the Humvee. Trust me, the first time that we did it, I walked 200 meters and I looked, and it was unbelievable how camouflaged these Humvees were.
Also, you'll see that we got a extra tire mounted in the back, ammunition, and more ammunition, and spare parts. Those are the logistics that we needed most of out there.
And I remembered that it was pretty cramped in there.
Guys' backs were hurting. I mean, driving around in these Humvees all day. You got your plates, you got your flak, you got your ammo, you got your water. Now all of a sudden you're jammed in a vehicle. And some of these guys were trying to get in the vehicle with all that gear, and it just wasn't working.
The first day I arrived on set, I tried to climb into that Humvee that I'd ridden in forever, it seemed, and I could barely get into the thing. And I was there with like the cameraman, and he's like, how do we shoot this? How do these guys move around? And I don't have a clue how we moved around.
We started with some serious training, things such as weapons manipulation, weapons safety, gear accountability.
What's this about you losing your Kevlar?
It bounced off my head, Sergeant Major.
That Kevlar wasn't yours to lose! That was the property of this United States Marine Corps!
We got a 203 grenade launcher underneath team leader's weapon because not only is it used to do incredible damage to the enemy, it's also used to mark targets. When we deploy from the vehicles, we have a small light machine gun in which we can provide a base of fire for riflemen.
My weapon is the saw. It's the big-ass machine gun, and it's exhilarating. I wouldn't want to have to really shoot it, but it's great to do it and make believe.
This is a 50 caliber rifle. It's the heavy gun that all the Humvees use. Most of the time, this is going off right by my face, and it's a lot louder by my face than it is from behind here.
One of our biggest workloads for the armory team was actually trying to keep the stuff clean and functioning. So we'd have to come in 2 hours before call to start cleaning things to keep them functioning. A lot of responsibility was left onto the actors, and they did very well at keeping to that rule.
I never met soldiers like this, Marines like this. These guys are incredibly knowledgeable, they're physically unbelievable. And to see these guys take a journey that impacts them as human beings, they begin to doubt, they begin to see the imprecision of war and how it strikes them is very powerful storytelling.
It's wonderful reporting on what war does to the warriors. Not just to the country they invade, but to the invaders themselves.
The guys I was with were incredibly brave, and by brave I mean they were aware of the dangers, but carrying out their mission regardless of their personal concerns.
Evan's book is as much about the ordinariness of violence and the ordinariness of tragedy as it is about the extraordinary adventure of war.
Not everybody is a hero, a war hero, that goes to war. Not everybody is stand-up.
These people are a lot more complicated, and the situations are a lot more complicated than we would tend to believe that they were.
I hope it'll make the audience feel a little bit more engaged and connected with the hundreds of thousands of Americans that have served, and I hope it'll just help an audience view them as people.
It needs to feel real, not just to Marines, but to the Marines who were with 1st Recon in Iraq.
I hope they look at it and be like, yeah, I know what it was like.
Well, let's show them what we got.
Yeah, sure.
A little warm-up before we go.
Hey, hey,
Big man Chaka sings.
hey, 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 get on down that road. Come on, baby, get on down that road. Hey, 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 come on, baby, get on down that road. Tom, come on, baby, get on down that road.
What's this called?
Get on down that road.
Get on down the road.
Get on down the road. Come on, baby, get on down that road.
You just spilled your entire cup of coffee while you were doing that.